The Masters in Science and Health Communication at DCU. To begin, we've been teaching science communication at master's level at Dublin City University for almost 30 years now. I think this is our 27th year. And the health strand, if you like, of this program has been added in the last 4 years. And it's been very successful because what it's allowed us to do is to bring in people from different diverse backgrounds in health, administration and communication as well. It really blends in very nicely with the science communication modules that we have. So what I'm going to do is go through the program and just the philosophy of the program and just the modules as well. And of course, I'll stop then for any questions that you may have. DCU, as my colleagues have already pointed out, we have a strong record here, a really successful track record for teaching communications and journalism. And this area of science and health and indeed environmental communication have really taken off. The urgency for this has never been stronger, and it's never really been as important to understand how to communicate these aspects clearly. And the clarity of communication is just one aspect of this, as we will go through, but we'll look at here as well at the potential careers from this particular program. So a lot of the information here about DCU, it is ranked very highly, as some of my colleagues already said, in communications and media studies. And this is in keeping with a lot of it. And what's really interesting, I think hopefully you're getting a flavor of the different programs we have here, that because we're teaching in the School of Communications, that a lot of the lecturers come from different backgrounds of either social media, like Alessia, who we've just heard, or in film studies, or in journalism, and these all work. Something happened, of course, to our world a couple of years ago that showed that there has never been a more important time to understand the science and the technology that surround us, but also to have people participate. And of course, that was the emergence of the COVID-19 virus, which we're still there. I know the World Health Organization will hopefully soon make some kind of announcement that we're seeing the end of it, but we certainly have seen this. It's been tragic and dramatic, but we saw for the first time that scientific content is at the very center of news and policy and politics. In fact, even entertainment, everything. It just impacted on how we do things, how we do things differently, and how we cover things in the media. But of course, there are many other challenges here as well. The climate emergency, and my colleagues in climate and society, of course, have spoken about this as well, but we'll speak about this. But there are several other areas as well. We're talking about emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, which is getting a lot of coverage at the moment, but also genetically modified organisms, vaccinations, different applications of emerging and so-called disruptive technologies. These all have their own particular societal challenges. They've all got their own issues which have to be talked through. So it's not just a case of pushing them through, as it were. It always requires communication and discussion. And I suppose this is the important part here. There are 3 levels really of communication that we focus on. On the first level, of course, it is about that accuracy. It is about that clarity and accessibility of communicating. COVID-19 and indeed climate emergency, you can see that to get that accurate information out there is paramount. And of course, to prevent mis or indeed disinformation there becomes really important in this aspect. So getting the message right. A second level, I suppose, is about dialogue. How do we talk about these discussions? How do we become partners in getting solutions for global issues and indeed local issues that have highly scientific or technical information at the heart of them? So, of course, there is that explaining part in that first level, but in the second level, you do need to discuss these things. The third level, though, is equally important. It's about participation. It's about how you actually get people involved. Arguably, you could say that COVID-19 showed that actually all those 3 levels were needed at once. The clarity of the message, the idea of discussing very quickly and very succinctly. There wasn't a lot of time for deliberation, but it still needed policy issues like wearing face masks, like social distancing. They all needed discussion. And of course, the third thing needed participation. There are other areas, like perhaps the ones I've already mentioned, like artificial intelligence or indeed nanotechnology or biotechnology, where there may be more time to discuss this and needs more deliberation, but needs also participation, public participation. So this third level is the one that sometimes is neglected, and we certainly don't neglect it here in this particular program. How do you actually combine your own expertise as a scientist or indeed as a science communicator with public perceptions and public participation? That becomes hugely important in this. So engaging people in different areas is key to this. Understanding there are different cohorts of people, different levels of knowledge, different levels of expertise as well. We can't assume that the public are one big block that don't have the knowledge at all times. There's different levels here. So there's different registers, if you like, different ways that we need to engage. To talk about the master's program itself, it's full. There's two levels. There's a full time and there's a part time part. So you can take the full time, which would be 6 taught modules in that 1 year, plus the dissertation and internship, which I'll talk about in a minute, or else you could spread that out over 2 years. So it's the same program but spread out over 2 years. In that 1 or 2 years, you learn to critically analyze science communication and how science is mediated and how it's communicated. We'll be looking at case studies. We mentioned a few there already, like COVID-19 and climate emergencies and AI, but there's several others as well. So there will be a learning here and an application of how to be a better communicator, but also how to be a communication strategist. How do you actually organize communication as an outreach officer, as somebody who is going to be a manager of communication in the future? So in total, you've got 90 credits in that structure. So as I said, 6 modules, each of 10 credits. And there's a mixture there of core modules and optional modules, which I'll go through in a little bit more detail in a minute. All continuous assessment. So that means you have your deadlines, you know at the beginning, and we have a full kind of timetable there of what's to be done at what particular points. So it is very much like real world learning here. There is also the 15,000 word thesis as well, the dissertation. So that's your big 25 credits. This is a large part of your project. And also this internship, the intra placement. So the placements office, DC placement here, has an intra, as we call it, which is an internship. And this can be done in a couple of different ways. We would have a lot of contacts here in industry and in government-funded institutions that would take on our students each year. So that's that intra-list system, if you like. But also it's possible that students can source their own, and we can facilitate and mediate that as well. Plus, if is often the case that some of our part-time students based in Ireland, for example, might be already working in some communication aspect and want to take the master's part-time. That work that they're doing, if it has a science communication aspect, will serve for their 5 credits for that as well. So they write a report on that. So to go into more detail on the modules, we're introducing a different structure, slightly different structure this year, science and society modules in year 1 with research and methods. Really, the first part of research methods is actually divided into 2. So there are 2 core modules, of which then you choose a third one from understanding social media or social media, journalism and democracy. In the second semester then, the strategic communications for STEM, environment, healthcare, science and health in the media, research methodologies. These are the 3 core taught modules in the second semester. And as I said, if you're taking this part-time, some of these will appear in the second year. And then in the final important core part is, of course, the project dissertation. There's a module that guides you through that in the first part of the second semester, and then through the summer, you work on that to be submitted in September. So the optional modules there's quite a few this year: data communication, media audiences and consumption, gender and sexuality in digital culture, political economy of the environment, and communicative democratic innovations, participation and deliberations. So you have to choose one of those. So the way the structure works then, of course, you begin in September, the first semester, all the way up till late November. Second semester beginning then in January up to April, and the dissertation and the intra placement then will take place in the summer. So you've got to consider this, if you're taking this full time, as a 1-year master's between September and the following September when you submit the dissertation. But the taught elements, the modules, are in 12-week blocks either side of Christmas, if you like. So this autumn semester is when you see summer or autumn semester. So submitting in either 2024 or 25 for your dissertation, depending if you're taking it full time or part time. So our students come from a range of backgrounds. A lot of questions that's potential students ask are, do I need to have a wide, broad range of scientific knowledge? You don't even need to be a scientist at all, actually. We take a course from social sciences as well as from STEM subjects, because there's a level playing field, if you like. We're looking at concepts of science communication here. Actually, those coming from the arts and humanities will already have a feeling, if you like, for some of the subjects we do, because we are housed in the humanities and social sciences. But the scientists, of course, there's a bit of a learning curve there about looking around how we analyze content in different critical perspectives in social sciences, and that's what we bring to it as well. But the alumni whereas Gareth, where they go for, a lot of alumni are in these areas like public relations, I suppose traditional media routes like broadcasting, but there is a whole new growing area of education and public engagement, as we call it in Ireland, this EPE. These are committed science communicators within research institutions, maybe in universities or other types of research institutions, that typically would go to management level, having done our course. I think most know our course. We're the only Masters in Science and Health Communication on the island of Ireland, and the only science communication indeed on the island of Ireland. So there's lots of different opportunities there, a lot of different opportunities in EPE. But also you have science museums, you have the publishing industries, e-learning, all these kind of areas would take on our students as well, looking at, because they become experts in communicating of difficult and complex material. And our alumni are in these kind of key policy areas as well as health strategy and public engagement. As I mentioned already, cohorts come from different places. I suppose you could divide them into two. There's the STEM and science communication people, and indeed they may have backgrounds in other areas like arts and humanities as well. But also you have the health cohort as well. So people in health administration, health management, indeed general practitioners, and those that are maybe studying to be doctors in the future have come. And we've people, it's quite an international cohort, has been for the last few years, I'm delighted to say. So you will definitely have trainee doctors and trainee health professionals who want to take that 1 year study abroad, taking a master's in science communication as well. I mean, it's the cultural aspect of being in Ireland, of course, but also it does fit in nicely with other types of study that are there. So there is that STEM and science communication, there is the broader policy arena, and there's this health area as well. And these are very diverse areas, and it means, of course, that we have as I said, a kind of a level playing field in the sense of where the kind of concepts of difficult, complex information that needs to be communicated, but people go to diverse areas afterwards, whether it's in science policy, science communication, public engagement, or science museums, or any of those kind of aspects. So it's all about finding out the important global challenges that we have, and to look basically at how we best engage people. And we set that up. We set people up to be, as I said, science communicators, but also organizers and managers of science communication.